MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of world-class software like Text Expander. Find out about all their great utilities at smilesoftware.com. MacVoices is in Las Vegas for CES. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're in the Mattias booth talking to Steve about what's new with Mattias. Now, Mattias kind of has a reputation, Steve, on my show anyway, for any of my guests that are making keyboard sounds, they're probably using a Mattias keyboard. They see that as a very positive thing because they like that tactile feel.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because most of the keyboards we're showing here at the show are scissor switch keyboards with the modern styling and the quieter sound. But yes, we still have people who buy that old-fashioned Mattias Tactile Pro. In fact, I still have one of these around here somewhere. Here's our Tactile Pro, the clicky Mattias click switch. For people who like that old-fashioned Apple extended keyboard from the 1980s. We made this in 2003, and we're still making it 15, 16 years later. But this is not the new keyboards, this is the legacy that sticks around.
Well, I can tell you still have some devotees of that keyboard. People absolutely love it. But yeah, you've got a lot of very modern, new-looking keyboards that are very quiet. I tried a couple, and they're not like that at all.
Well, one of the things we do, ironically, continuing with the Tactile Pro, where we basically brought back to life a product that Apple discontinued when they switched to scissor switches in the first place. Similarly, one of the products we have this year is another product that we rescued from Apple. Apple, as you know, has been on a kick for several years that wires are bad. They removed the headphone jacks from iPhones, and they also decided that wires should not be on keyboards anymore. So Apple discontinued their own wired aluminum keyboard a year and a half ago, and perhaps Apple thought people didn't want wires anymore, but we were surprised that so many people came to us and said, hey, we're a school, we're a business, we want the reliability and security of a wired connection. So what we did here is our Mattias wired aluminum keyboard, similar to the Apple one, wired keyboard, silver aluminum, white keys. We actually added a volume control dial on the top to make it a little bit easier to change the volume. And we introduced that last year, and people loved it. So this year we decided, since all the rage now is space gray, let's do a space gray version of the Mattias wired aluminum keyboard. So space gray aluminum, black keys, volume control dial, and $59 US. So it's a nice, reasonably priced keyboard for a hole that Apple left for us to fill. That's sort of the first thing. But we wanted to not stop at that. We wanted to see if we could take the wired keyboard to the next level. So this one here is our RGB backlit wired aluminum keyboard for Mac. So it looks very similar to the regular wired one, but what it's got is instead of a volume control dial on the top, it's got a multicolor backlight button. So you can make brightness come through, and you can change this dial to change the color to be different colors. So you can have red backlighting, blue backlighting, green backlighting. So you can express your creativity, or if you just want to have a slightly less harsh white blue light, you can do that too.
I think we've all learned to not underestimate the power of color. People love the customization. They love the idea of coloring any of their devices, whether it's their iPhone case or now the backlight on their keyboard.
Well, Apple for many years has advocated the view that you can have your iPhone in different colors of aluminum. We thought, well, in addition to having different aluminum frames, let's make the color coming through the back of the light itself differ.
I like it. What's the pricing difference between with this? Is there one, or is it the same thing?
So the one that's regular wired is $59, and the one that's RGB backlighting is $99. And of course, I'm an accountant by background, so I love number pads and I love numbers generally. So for me, number pads are the way to go. But shockingly, there are some people who aren't sort of the biggest fans of numbers in the world. So we've also come up with what we call 10 keyless versions this year. So this happens to be our wired version. This is the Mattias wired aluminum 10 keyless keyboard. So this is basically the same keyboard but no number pad. And you'll notice that one difference compared to the way Apple does things, Apple likes to make them a little bit more compact with smaller arrow keys. And we like to make it a little bit wider with full-size arrow keys because we think full-size arrow keys are a little bit easier to operate your keyboard with. And of course, we got our little tricks on here. This one has the volume control dial. Our RGB backlit version has the multicolor backlighting feature. And for people who say, why do you keep talking about wires? I'm a wireless person. All these keyboards come in wireless as well. And in fact, I'll show you a couple of wireless ones over here that are kind of cool.
Okay, let's go.
So now we saw those wired aluminum keyboards, let's show you the wireless ones. So for these ones, you not only have the traditional Bluetooth wireless connection, we have multi-pairing. So that means you can pair to 4 different devices with your wireless aluminum keyboard. So if you want to have the one keyboard that communicates to your Mac, to your iPhone, to your iPad, or even if you're a Mac person that uses an Android phone or a PC, it works too. And this way, you've got the convenience of wireless, you've got the ability to pair to multiple devices with one keyboard, and it's got a super long battery that will last up to 1 year before it has to be recharged. And for people who are, again, are not so fan of numbers, we have the 10 keyless version that allows you to pair with up to 3 devices and has the same, nice aluminum frame. This one's silver, that one's space gray, and it gives you a compact form factor with a nice full-size arrow keys to give you a nice typing experience with your Mac and other iOS devices.
Now, if you said it, I missed it, and I apologize. Are these driven by rechargeable batteries or like a AA, AAA?
Rechargeable batteries. That's why we've got, in fact, a super high-powered battery in here, which means that it lasts so long before it has to be recharged. So yes, you just have a little micro USB port here. You just plug the charging cable in, charge it for a few hours, and you're good for several months.
The other thing, too, about this one being able to switch between devices, do these light up or indicate in any way which device it's addressing? Or do I need to remember which one I've compared it to at the moment?
This is where you have those trade-offs in keyboard design. So if you have a light on all the time to tell you which device is active, it drains battery, and we want the battery life to be really long. So of course it'll flash blue briefly when you connect to that device, but when we change, it'll briefly press blue, but it's not telling you which one is on. When you're typing, you can see which device you're typing on.
Yeah, just ask, because I love this idea that I buy one keyboard and then I can make use of it on multiple computers or multiple iOS devices or whatever.
We live in a world where people are multitasking all the time. People are typing on their Mac and they get a text message from their friend and they need to respond on their iPhone. This is where a keyboard like this is handy. Instead of putting down your keyboard and picking up your iPhone and tap, tap, tap on the screen, press the iPhone button and type on your text message response, flip back to your work, and you're back in business in no time.
And these are all quiet.
Yes, these are Mattias scissor switches. Because we have a mechanical background, as you saw with the Tactile Pro, our scissor switches are a little bit different than Apple's. We have what's called a 2mm travel distance, which means it's a little bit kind of like the distance Apple used to make their keyboards in. Apple's keyboards now are more like 0.9 millimeters, so they're thinner, but we believe the thickness we have gives you a better feel for typing and is still a thin keyboard. So that gives you a better typing experience, and it's got a little bit of a touch of a tactile aspect to it, which we think gives it a pleasant typing experience.
Yeah, it's very, again, I tried it out earlier, and it is absolutely pleasant. So a great line of keyboards, and of course, they still, the old clickety-clack if you really like that.
That's right. Well, you're going to keep making that forever, because we don't want to abandon the people that like the good old ways.
Please do. The website where folks can go to learn more.
Mattias.ca, Matias.ca. We're a Canadian company, that's why you got .ca at the end.
Steve, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for coming by.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices at CES. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our MacVoices Facebook group and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us at patreon.com/MacVoices and join these folks who help keep MacVoices coming to you. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.